Hello, I'm Bob Stevens, and welcome as ESPN Classic remembers one of the greatest baseball players of all time, Ted Williams. The Red Sox legend passed away last week after a long illness at the age of 83. The baseball world mourned the loss of the splendid Splinter.
The back door. I walked down the store, walked down these one stairs, and there was David Bromberg walking up. And I gave him a tape, and I said, I loved Sammy's song. I loved Sammy's song. He put the tape, put it in his guitar case, then walked out on the stage and started singing. Just like he was ready to go on, and I jumped in front of him like this. So I was hanging out the side of the stage there, and all these people came on. And this guy kept looking at me. I goes, oh boy, he's picked me out. He knows I shouldn't be here. And he kept walking up at me, and I'm thinking, oh boy, I'm in trouble here. So everybody starts walking out on stage. That guy walks out, grabs a guitar, and starts singing. He's Arlo Guthrie. Yeah. I mean, I didn't even recognize him. He looked really... But as soon as I saw him out there, he looked just like Elvis Presley. And after the show was over, he looked the same way. He was looking at me the same way.
Real intense again.
Yeah.
Butthole Surfers.
Well, I'd heard Butthole Surfers on a record, and there was just this, there's 5 of them, but it sounded like there was 30 people there. I couldn't figure out where all the sounds were coming through. This knock was really making me, I go, wow, this is great. So I got to go to see him in concert, and I had heard that they heard my tape, so I jumped up there, and Gibby's back there taking his shirt off, and I says, hi, I'm Daniel Johnston. And he says, hi, Daniel. We'll have to make an album someday, or something. We'll do some recording someday. And I go, wow. And I'm jumping around and doing my muscle thing to photographers and stuff. I was real excited about that. Just every concert that they went to was a major event for me, totally different every time, the feeling of it, and the crowd too, really wild people would be there. And so after I goofed up that one time and went to the mental hospital, when I got out, I got to go over to their house, to their studio and we did some recording that was on an album.
Do you want to tell us about the acid experience with the Butthole Surfers?
Well, I was doing acid with this girl.
Caroline?
Yeah. And we were by the stage there and went to waiting for the band to start, right? And this guy came up with he started passing out some marijuana. He says, you want some real marijuana? And we go, yeah, okay. Follow us. So we followed him back there, and then we were backstage, and all the Butthole Surfers were there. I was really kind of shocked, surprised, you know what I mean? And there I was backstage and everything, because they were my idols, totally. And so we were talking to the bass player, and I told him we were on acid, and he said, gee, I wish I had some acid. I said, we'll be right back. And we went and jumped on our bicycles that we had, and rode them all the way back, and got him some acid and came back and gave it to him, like about 3 miles across town to get this acid, from the bass player. So he said, thanks, man, yeah.
One time you were planning on going on tour of Europe with them, right?
I even got a
passport.
Passport, so I was going to get a passport, but I ended up coming home because I was all freaked out.
That's probably the best thing not to go.
Yeah, probably the best thing to happen for me to come home. If I had stayed down there, I might have...
Things were getting crazy.
Yeah, I got myself hurt or something.
What do you think? You talked about the Butthole Surfers. What do you think of their music?
Love it. It's fantastic. It's psychedelic. It's really, when I listen to it, it's just like wow every time.
But do they actually write songs?
Well, there's songs there, but some people might get freaked out because the music's so wild. It's different. It's different maybe, but for me, it was as soon as I heard it,
The rock critic Ron Harris calls them the worst group in the history of Christendom.
Christendom?
What do you think of that?
I don't. Well, he's allowed to think what he wants. I tell you.
Do you think he's wrong?
Oh yeah, for me.
Or do you think that they're maybe too avant-garde for him?
That's probably why. He wasn't in Yoko Ono when I was in Yoko Ono either. So it just kind of.
What did you get from Yoko Ono's music? You one time were quoted of saying that you were influenced as much by Yoko as by John.
Well, back then time we used to make that crazy music, and everybody would sit in and rattle stuff and yell things while we were recording. You used to yell at the piano and stuff. That's because I was into what Yoko. To me, that's what it was. Just being weird and making weird noises and everything. Some people do it better than other people, you know. And
You thought she was great.
yeah, I was really into her. I really was. Then I had all her solo albums. So
What's your memories of the day the music died?
by Don McLean.
John was killed.
Oh,
Oh, he was
calling you.
he was #1 on both of our lists.
Yeah, he was never. That's all we talked about. That was all we were talking about then. And then he was the one that died.
I can remember after that, just like driving around in my car or your car, and we just like drive around. I mean, it seemed like we drove around for 3 months.
It was a long day, wasn't it?
It was
I
a long
quit school and
day.
I came over to your house.
Yep.
We watched the news and what's his name? That's the way it is, guy.
Walter
Cronkite.
Cronkite.
He said an invasion in Poland is
It's funny that you remember that. That is true. There wasn't the invasion in Poland when
Yeah.
Poland was going on at that
That's
time.
what he said. He says is outstaged by a guitar player. That's what he said.
That's exactly what he said. You're
Yeah.
right. Do you remember the famous quote? I'm trying to think who it was. Rod McCune. Do you remember him saying? I always remember this quote. He made older people understand what was not a good thing. What did he mean?
Well,
He said that John Lennon helped older people understand what was not a good thing.
I don't know what he meant, but there is kind of a thing like in the 60s when the Beatles came out and were such a powerful influence on the youth, that the old people were coming out of a generation out of the war, and they all had shaved their heads. Everybody was dressing alike, looked alike. They were listening to death
Very
music.
conformist.
Yeah,
Conformity
the kids,
role.
what did the kids? They didn't have nothing. And when the Beatles came out, it just was so revolutionary and so good that everybody liked it.
They changed the world.
It changed the world. It did. And one time I heard a historian say that nothing could change a world except for a war or some major thing. And he says, oh, some of you might be thinking about some artist or poet or something, but it's not true. I mean, the Beatles really had a big effect on the world, and from then on, it started. The world started on from then on because they were everywhere,
Do you think
all over the world.
could there ever be another Beatles? Or anything like the Beatles?
No, if it's something like the Beatles, it won't be the Beatles. It'll be,
Something different.
yeah, it'll be. It's harder.
Would you agree that the Beatles were something that just happened? I mean, you couldn't stage the Beatles. It would have to be something that would take off on its own, not something that people could get. Like you have promoters behind and
Right,
building
the Beatles really
them.
didn't cheat that much. I mean, it was more or less that the DJs in those days could pick out songs that they liked, and that's how they. I Wanna Hold Your Hand made it in America was because a lot of tapes were running around between the DJs and with the Beatles kind of forced in, Brian Epstein and them were kind of forced into releasing it in the United States, and it just went straight to the #1. And so by the time when the Beatles landed, they were, all those screaming fans waiting for them already. So it was immaculate. It was just like, it was like wildfire spreading, it was, And then when all the commercial people saw what was happening, they wanted to jump on the bandwagon, of course, and selling Beatle wigs and all that stuff, and it just generated more and more money until it was just kind of ridiculous, but they were generally loved. I'll have to say that one thing about the Beatles. A lot of people that are force-fed on the media, the media force feeds the youth these different groups and stuff, and they think they're big because they got their multi-platinum albums, but they're not loved like the Beatles were loved.
Good point. Elvis Presley. What do you think of him?
A lot of people don't think about it much, but he was a Christian.
Right. What do you think happened to Elvis?
They deliberately put him in the army to stifle it.
And after the Army, I mean, like say the last years of his life, what happened?
He was pushed around, knocked around like a basketball. Like a little ball, like a soccer ball.
Astroworld.
Well, I worked at Astroworld in Houston there. And I originally was trying to get a job as a character artist.
Character?
Caricature. And he didn't like the way I did it. He wanted me to do it just like him. And the way he did it looked like everybody looked the same, you know. And he was always talking about the day he was going to be on Johnny Carson, how he had it all planned out, what he was going to say. I mean, it was really lousy, and so I guess he more or less fired me. So I started working at the hot dog, chili dog thing.
I forgot I had some. Oh, the famous art scene that I can remember was the time you went to a baseball game, and you went to 3 or 4 ball games with me, and you didn't like baseball, but you would draw up the people and just kind of take your artwork and use that.
Yeah.
You remember after that ball game that one time what happened?
Yeah, well, we were walking out of the baseball game, and there was this guy who looked like Charlie Manson or something. And I think I'm the one that pointed at him and said, "Hey, look at that guy." Look like
You started
Charlie
laughing.
Manson. And laughed, and so they came up with 3 other thugs, and so they said, "What are you doing pointing at us?" And I said, thinking quick, I thought, "We'd like to draw your picture for my new book." Oh, well, right ahead. Wow, the book. I changed his face to all the way. And then I drew his picture, and he said he wanted to have it. I said, "No, I got to save it for the book." And I still got it somewhere.
How did he look after you said, "I gotta save it"? Hey, you gave
No,
it
he
to him.
didn't like that either.
You had to give it to him. I said, "Dan, give it to him.
Did I give
Let's
it
get
to
out
him?
of."
I don't remember.
Yeah, because he got mad when you said you wanted to keep it. He got that mad look on his face again, and I said, "Dan, give it to him. Let's get out of here."
I can't remember.
Because those guys, I mean, they look like they were drunk to start with.
They asked your friend for a date, didn't they?
Yeah. One guy said to Jim, he goes, "We're standing there while you're drawing," and he goes to Jim, he goes, "Boy, you're looking good today." It's like that. I mean, that's weird.
Yeah.
That's weird.
But,
Do you ever regret leaving art and going into music?
no, I've never left art, really.
I mean, concentrating more on music, obviously.
Yeah, I'm not, well, I've done more drawings than music. I'm having a show in Switzerland and in Berlin, Germany. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
When's this?
I got the thing. It's on right now.
Cool.
It's happening right now. I sent them a bunch of drawings.
New stuff or older things?
Fairly new. The newest stuff I had.
Cool.
So.
Do you still have problems with your art as far as I remember your hands were bothering you at one time?
No, it doesn't bother me anymore.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because you kind
But
of
it
quit
did
the
at
art
that time.
because it hurt your hands.
No.
It doesn't bother you anymore.
That's why I wanted nylon strings on my guitar.
Do you think
Yeah,
the art has influenced the music?
My art has influenced music?
Your music. Yeah. I mean, say if you'd never got involved in art, do you think you would have been
Yes, I
involved
had
in
two
music?
pictures first, and I thought I was going to be a comic book artist. Remember back in the days, and I'd ask you what you think to review them and stuff? But I used to think that that's how I was going to be a comic book artist. I didn't see at all until it hit me when I was listening to the Beatles that that's what I wanted to be. That it wasn't just famous enough to have a cartoon somewhere in a newspaper, but I wanted to be famous and them to see my face and watch me on television and play and that, you know what I mean?
Right.
I wanted to be like the Beatles. I wanted to be musical like that. Present your ideas like that. The best way, rock and roll.
Well, they went to art school themselves, right?
Yeah. The best way to do it is rock and roll, really. Get your ideas across. If you want to do artwork, you can do it on the cover. You know.
Cool. Do your, who'd you do an impersonation of here earlier in the day?
Oh. Well, I'll take them. That's my George Bush imitation.
Do it, that's it. It's captured on
Well,
film.
Mostly I'm doing the imitation.
Well, do the imitation of the imitation. Do the Saturday Night Live guy imitation.
Well, yeah, I don't know, remember what I said.
You were doing it better earlier.
I completely slipped my
You
mind.
give up, huh?
Yeah. And as far as the end of this film goes, well, look how many
Dan's
cigarettes I smoked.
stomping out a cigarette there. And there's his cools. Close up on the cools.
Well,
What got you started smoking?
when I was at the Looney Bin, insane asylum place,
Right?
they give you a cigarette every hour. So I started smoking.
And you just got
The
hooked.
heck, if it's free, I might as well take it.
And you got hooked.
Yeah, I like to smoke cigarettes. It's relaxing.
And they're no longer free though.
Huh?
They're no longer free though.
No. That's why if I wait for, I get my loan from my dad.
And you're gonna
Yeah.
buy a cigarette company?
Yeah. I'm gonna do a commercial for Cools and a commercial for Mountain Dew, so they wouldn't have to pay me. All they have to give me is all the Mountain Dew I can drink for the rest of my life.
You sell that'd be a good deal the way you drink that.
Oh yeah, they'd be
They
going,
could
wait
give
a
you
minute.
they could give you $1 million and be better off.
That's right.
They'd probably make
They might regret it later.
That's right. But they don't know that you actually drink the
You know, I
product.
thought one thing would be a good Mountain Dew commercial is to have a big room filled with all Mountain Dew, cold,
Right?
and then a little restroom. Right? And in the commercial, it's an hour-long commercial, and I'll just talk about Mountain Dew and keep drinking it, and drawing as much as I can drink. You know, keep going to the bathroom and drinking. And that might kill somebody if you try to drink too much, I guess. That's an idea I had.
You drink like that. Drink Mountain Dew like that anyway. That'd be
Yeah,
like,
that's
a,
why
it'd be like a
fun.
normal day for you.
Just another normal day for you. You know, Queen? What are you gonna do now, Ron?
I'm almost out of tape here.
Okay.
Just got a minute to go here, I believe.
Whee!
There's the stinky queen.
The great Elvis held this title longer than any heavyweight champion in history. For 10 points, did he hold it 6, 8, 10, or 12 years?